Marky Mark's Woodshop 101. Or Marky Mark's DIY.
Take your pick. Well, I just finished cutting the flooring that's going down, the Congoleum. Our battery in the camera died there for a minute, so I jumped ahead. Only by 30 seconds. You didn't miss much. So now it's time to put it down and secure it. It should be trimmed for the width this way and pretty much the length that way. I may have to trim off a little bit toward the end, but we'll have to cut this little step out as we go. So let's see what happens. There, let me come pull it this way. Oh, let me cut out the toilet before we get too far on that other piece of vapor barrier. You might remember me saying a backed up toilet's not a good thing. One got like a little overlap there since that stuff was the width it was. Okay, we have access for the toilet. Always a good thing. So this is going to be a little bit tougher than paper. I may have to pull it back out here, do a measurement kind of thing, and cut it and then put it back down. We'll see. See if I can cheat or not. I usually can. I've done it with carpet and the paper and other things, but I've never done Congoleum. So we'll say it's getting a little tight down here. Let's see. If I can fold it back, we'll be in better shape. There we go. Let's see what happens now. Might have to trim the sides a little bit. Now I can't grab it, of course. There we go. It's cooperating a little bit better. Grab. I just want to try and get enough of this out. I hesitate putting a staple or two down at this end yet, because I may have to, like I say, pull it back up to do that cut down there. I hope I don't have plumber's butt. Let's see. I think what I'm going to do is mark it with a pencil. Bring it back a little bit. Get a better mark with my square and then cut it. And then we'll put it back in there and see what we got. I'm not too worried about that tightness once it gets below the sheetrock, which also does not extend quite fully to the floor. It'll slip underneath of it, so that'll go away. Let's see. I'll use the razor on this cut because I can't get scissors in there. I'll probably have to use the scissors anyway because my line's far from straight. It may not matter. It'll be under the sheetrock. I'm going to wind up having to trim off this step. I may as well do that now. It's not going to get any easier. So that's going to be 11 1/4 inches. And that may be a little tight, but I'd rather trim off more than have an exposed area where there's no flooring. Okay, that's good enough to work with. Okie dokie. That shows the step. That piece stood for salt. Now this is going to be a little bit trickier to get underneath of the door frames too, because this stuff's a little bit stiffer than the paper. So we'll see what it takes to get it under there. So that turned out good. Okay, I'm under that side. I'm just kind of folding it a little bit to get it under there. Okay, it's under that side. A little bit more length than what I thought, but that's okay. So let me secure this end. Kind of straighten it out if it needs to be straightened. I don't think it's going to get any straighter. And we're flat everywhere, no binding. Cut out the toilet. Actually, I think I'm going to cut out the toilet. Let me work securing it first. So I'm just going to secure it with a couple of staples down here where it's going to be hidden under the transition. Obviously we don't want staples to show anywhere. Of course that'll keep it from moving. It's not like it's glued down. And I've got an area here that's needs a little bit of trimming by the transition in the subflooring. Okay. And I'll hit it with some staples as I go down. The staples will be hidden by the baseboard. That's the theory anyway. This side's less of an issue because we'll have the vanity sitting on the floor as well as the toilet securing it. But we we still don't want it to move. I feel a little high spot here. Let me see what's under there if I can. Just trim my nails so I can't get it quite under there. Yeah, a little piece of something there. Just kind of shove that down in the cracks. I tried to sweep all the crap off of the floor from construction, and also scrape up any little paint droppings and sheetrock blobs from the spackling, etc. I'm trying to smooth this out as I go so we don't have any ripples or bubbles. Which I'm sure anything, oops, ran out of staples, anything minor will work itself out. And it's what the staples are doing for me as I go. Keeping everything tight. And I want to cut out the toilet at this point before I want to put any staples past there, because that's a potential buckle. Doubtful it would be any kind of a problem, but got to do it anyway. Normally I'd cut a cross type of pattern, but I tell you, this stuff is, I'm afraid to put a whole lot of pressure on it because I don't want to cut through the vapor barrier we put down, although I'm on top of the toilet rough end, so that shouldn't be an issue. There's nothing I can hurt there with a razor. The flange is metal, and there's a punch out there for the actual pipe that hasn't been punched out yet. I'll wait until we're actually going to put the toilet down, because that goes into the main trunk line, and we don't want to smell that with a big 4-inch hole in the floor, or be subjected to a draft. Which I could actually feel as I'm working here. There's a couple of small holes in the floor that go through, but the vapor barrier is starting to cover it. The floor will cover a little bit more, and eventually the toilet will have a bead of caulk around it in the floor, so that should seal up any air leaks. And eventually I'll get underneath of the house and actually insulate it, and that'll cure any leftover stuff. There's no insulation under the house for the floor, and that's a problem for us. There we go. Just taking my time going around here. Insulation is an important thing. It's probably the #1 thing you can do to your home to keep it most comfortable.
And help with energy efficiency.
That's true. And there's also a tax deduction. I forget the form number. I want to say 4856. I forget. Where you can deduct up to $1,000 worth of upgrades, which includes doors, windows, insulation, efficiency improvements. So there we go. The toilet does cut out again, so we can progress onward in this direction with the floor. about there. And like I said, this was going to be long, and I'd have to trim it. Here's that shoestring again. These shoestrings are too long and they're always becoming untied because I'm stepping on them. So, let's see what we got here. Let me grab my scissors. And this copper pipe's the thing that's in front most, so let's just do this. I don't know if I'm going to go too much further past this pipe, but let's see what happens. Maybe just a hair past it. When we get the door up here, the bifold, it'll hide all this, which of course is just a utility area for the hot water. If the hot water heater ever goes, one of my thoughts is we can use a tankless hot water heater and put a shower stall in here, so then we'd have a 3/4 bath. But that may never happen. So many projects, so little time. Okay, there we go. Just secure that. And there we go, one new floor. There's your floor, my love.
Yay.
So, we've got our vapor barrier down, our floors down. In the past couple of days, we've put the valves on the plumbing. I had to turn the water off to the house to do that. Amber's found some new switch plates, which we tried out. She likes those, so we'll probably get more of those and replace the others, and that'll match the other fixtures that we already have for the lights, and spigot for the sink, which I'm sure you've seen. There it is. Obviously the smoke alarm's working. Why, I don't know. So there's that. Next thing on our list is installing the bifold door, which I think I might do next. Then our vanity, and we just got the hoses and drains so we can make that happen, and the toilet, and we're done, except for crawling up in the attic to run a wire for the light that will be over the vanity. Here's the bifold door that we're going to install. There. And it just occurred to me, we don't have knobs for the bifold door. I could order a couple more knobs that match the vanity. Maybe I'll just put something on there temporarily so we can open and close it. I've got some knobs down on the shelf. So, I've installed these before. They're pretty easy. There's a track that goes on the top that needs to be cut. So, and the instruction. We'll be back with another session shortly. Marky Mark, extraordinaire, making ordinary things extraordinary.